Okay, we're going to be working on a front axle U-joint in a 92 F150 today. I believe to have a Dana 44 front differential and has some worn lockout hubs. So we have the hub locked in, and you can just see that there's a ton of play in that thing. So we're going to see what it takes to replace this. It appears that I'm going to have to take all the stuff off inside the axle out through the steering knuckle to remove it from the truck. So I'm going to start by getting this caliper out of here. So I got the caliper wired up and out of the way. I'm going to take this cap off now, see what's under there. Looks like there's a snap ring holding some stuff in. I'll take that off, see what happens. Looks like that snap ring actually holds the axle in place to this thing. And so I'm going to go ahead and take this retaining ring out and see if all this other stuff comes out. I'll now see if I can pull this assembly out of here. Looks like there's a spanner nut in there now, so I'll go ahead and use a special socket here and see if I can get that out. Looks like that's a bearing in there. I'm going to see if I can slide this rotor off now. Now I'm going to attempt to take the spindle off by removing these 6 bolts and see if we can separate that from the knuckle. These studs are really crusty. You see I've just oiled them. I'm going to go ahead and wire wheel them. I'm now going to beat a 6-point socket on there. And we'll see if this thing even turns at all. Got all the nuts off. This thing, of course, is completely frozen on there, so I'll beat around that some, see if we can get it to come loose. This piece you see here is actually a backing plate that rusted off of this truck. Now I should be able to pull the axle right out of here. Tight fit. A note on this U-joint is that it's retained by clips on the inside. I'm going to go ahead and pop those clips off and replace this U-joint. And for further information on that, you can check out my U-joint video. Alright, I got the new U-joint in the shaft, and upon inspecting the shaft I noticed the seal on the end. It looks pretty tore up. There's a little spacer in there, and that seal rides, I believe, in the end of the spindle, and this piece was frozen in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to polish this up and put a new seal on there. Here's the seal. And this gasket, I believe, goes on here like this. And there's a spacer, beveled side down to account for the radius. Now here is the spindle. I'm going to go ahead and clean up all this rust where that seal on the rotor rides. I'm going to polish this for that seal I just put on. And there's actually a needle bearing inside here. And I'm going to clean all that up, inspect it, and replace it if needed. Here's my spindle after I cleaned it up, so you get the bearing nice and clean. The surface here that the seal's going to ride on is really pitted. Don't have a lathe, so I'm just going to run it like that. I actually took a sandpaper roll to it, and it still looks like that. I think it'll be alright though for what I'm going to use this truck for. And here's a new seal that goes in here, and that's a really loose fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of Permatex in the outside perimeter here and stuff it in there and let it set overnight, and hopefully that's enough to hold it in. I think the old seal spun in there. Okay, this Permatex is set up. Feels like the seal's actually in there pretty good now. I'm confident with that. This axle shaft goes in like this, and this new seal I put on here is me rubbing on the back of this spindle. I don't know if I'm actually missing a piece in here or if that's just how it is, but that's the way I'm going to run it. So I'm just going to grease up this back area, pack the spring with grease, and grease this seal. So I'm just about ready to install this axle. I'm just put some grease on these surfaces where the bearings ride. Maybe a little on this plastic spacer and on this seal, and I'll go ahead and insert that. Before I insert the drive shaft, I'm going to take the time to clean up this lip on the steering knuckle. So if to take this apart again anytime soon, it'll come right apart. I'll probably put some anti-seize on that after the axle's in. I'm going to try to do this without dragging a bunch of dirt into the carrier, without screwing up that seal that's deep up inside there. Fit. Okay, I have the axle in there. I have the dust shield, what's left of it, back in there to keep the original spacing. And the rest of this project is basically putting it back together how you took it apart.